Hello, Fred here from the Laptop Barn. Our video today, we're going to walk you through the step-by-step procedures necessary to load Windows 7 onto your laptop. Now there's a lot of different ways to do this. What we're going to do here today is use a Dell Windows 7 Restore disk, shown in the picture, and we're going to load Windows 7 using that media. Now, first step. Whether you're doing a desktop or a laptop, you want to go into the settings setup or BIOS of the system. On a Dell Latitude here, we're going to start the unit and hit the F2 key. F2 key will take us into system setup. You can see that on the screen there. And what we want to do is load the defaults. What that'll do is it'll make sure that there's no settings in there that are left over from the previous user that are settings you don't want. So we load the default, sets it back to factory new condition, and we're going to go in and look at one setting that we want to make sure is what we want, and it's under system configuration, SATA operations. On the right hand side, we're going to choose AHCI and hit apply. It's beyond the scope of this video to explain why we did that. Just that's the way we're going to do it, and you have to leave it that way. Okay, now we're going to put the disk in, reboot the computer, hit the F12 key. The F12 key will give us an option of what to boot from. And we're going to get a menu, and we're going to choose CD player, because that's where our media is, and hit enter. The system will now begin loading Windows files from that media. Now this process here will take 5 to 10 minutes depending on the size of your hard drive and the type of your hard drive. We're loading it on a solid state hard drive, so it'll be a little faster. Okay, the file's getting close to finishing this step. So what we're going to get is a series of questions. First one, it asks you your language. We're going to choose English, and then it's going to give you a chance to confirm that, and you hit the next button. Now there's a choice of install now, so hit the install. Okay, now you're going to get a chance to accept the Microsoft Windows 7 license. Click the box that you accept that license agreement, hit next. Okay, your next choice is what type of installation do you want. In this case, we're going to choose Custom Advanced because we're doing a new install, not an upgrade. That's the first choice. So we're going to hit Custom Install. Now it's going to ask us which hard drive do we want to put this on, or which partition on which hard drive. In this case, we've got one hard drive in this laptop and one choice. So we're going to highlight that and hit next, and it's going to install Windows on that particular hard drive and partition. So now we're going to go through the process of installing Windows. It's going to take a few more minutes here, again, depending on the type of hard drive you have and processor, probably about 10 minutes in this next step. Okay, the files are loaded, and now we're at the screen that's asking for you to enter your username. Now you could type in anything you want. We're going to type in just the word user, but you can put your name in there. A lot of people do. Hit next. Now, it's going to ask you for a password. We don't use passwords, but if you want to use a password, type it in there, just don't forget it. This exercise, we're not going to put a password on here. This is your Windows password. We're not going to put one in there. Okay, next thing, asks you about settings. We usually recommend you use the recommended settings, choice number 1. Click on that. Then you have to pick your time zone. We're in the Eastern time zone, so We're going to pick Eastern Time Zone. Gives you a chance to set the date and time if it's not already accurate. And hit Next. Now it'll finalize your settings. Get your desktop ready. And basically at this point, your Windows operating system is loaded. Now, the thing you don't have is you don't have any hardware drivers. So, we're going to give you a couple suggestions, a lot of different ways of doing this, but if you go into your, go in and look at your system, go into the device manager, a couple different ways to get there, you see how we got there. Now, you'll notice under other devices, there's a number of items that have a yellow apostrophe next to them. That means they're not loaded. So your mission now is to figure out how to get all these drivers. Now, the most important one to get started is you want to get your wireless card driver, because that way, if you've got the wireless card working, you can get on your internet and do the Windows updates off Microsoft's website, and the Windows updates will automatically load a lot of these drivers, or you can go to Dell's website or HP or whatever type of system you happen to be loading and get the drivers from their website. Now, we're going to give you a quick tutorial here on how to get that wireless driver. We already happen to know the name of the driver of the wireless card that's in here, but just let's say that you didn't know the name of the wireless card. A lot of different ways to do this. We're going to show you a real quick and easy one. We're going to just physically look at the name on the card. So we're going to shut down the laptop, turn it upside down, take the back plate off, remove the battery first. We're going to take the plate off, and what we're doing here is we want to just take a quick look at the model number on the wireless card, because that'll tell us what driver we want to go out and download. Again, there's no driver loaded, so you can't get this laptop on the internet even though you just loaded Windows. You don't have the correct driver for the wireless card. So, there's the wireless card right there. We read the model off of it and put it back together, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get on the internet and go find that driver. Okay, when you're on the Dell's website, you can either enter the service tag of your laptop, or you can go to the product and get it by model. We're going to go just by model. This is a Dell Latitude E6430. And you see when we got to that page, there's a spot there for category of driver, and we're going to look for the wireless driver. And then it lists all the wireless drivers, and we know the model of ours, which is a 6205, and we hit the button and it downloads it. Now, we put a thumb drive in this laptop. See the thumb drive there? So we're going to get it on a thumb drive so we can transport that to the laptop that we're currently loading. Under where we're at. Okay, now you've downloaded the wireless driver and it's in your download folder. So you take that out of the download folder and drag it to your USB drive, and the system will copy that to your USB drive. Having it on the USB drive is going to allow us to take that USB drive and move it over to the new laptop, which you've just loaded Windows 7 on, and copy and install that wireless card driver. And again, the whole purpose here is to get the wireless card working, because that'll allow you to get on the internet and utilize tools which will enable you to copy all the rest of the drivers that are necessary. Okay, now we're back on the laptop that you just loaded Windows 7 on. We're going to take that USB drive, which contains the wireless card driver, and we're going to pull that driver up and load the wireless card driver, which will allow us to get on our wireless network. There it is. Double click on it, executing the file. That execution will install that driver on the laptop with the mission of getting our wireless card to work. Okay, now, in order to get the rest of the drivers, we've went to Dell's website. We've indicated what model we have. And now we're going to go down to, well, we're going to give it that information in just a second. We're down to drivers and downloads on Dell's support site. This particular model is a Dell Latitude E6430. We put the service tag in and we hit the submit button, and the website will go out and automatically detect the drivers that are required. We hit the detect button and you can see now it's going out. It's doing analysis of the system, and it came back on this and said there are 8 drivers ready to download and install. So we're going to hit the download and install button. And it says download in progress, downloading the first of 8 drivers. The details are down below where you can see what the actual drivers are. But in this case, we are in the process of doing the download. And again, the first part of this was get the wireless driver so you can get on the internet, get to Dell's website, and then do this. Okay, it's going to come back and ask you where you want to save that information at. We're going to say make a new folder. A lot of different ways you can do this. We're just going to label it Dell drivers, or we're going to label it drivers. Hit OK, and it's going to save all those 8 drivers in that folder on our hard drive. It's important you remember what you just did there, because at some point you're going to have to go back and find that folder. But okay, downloading the first of 8. Take just a minute to do this. Okay, we're on the last of the downloads. The Dell site is already figured out what drivers you needed, downloaded the proper software, and it's actually going to go in and do the installation automatically from the folder that you indicated you wanted them stored at. So it's right now on this example we're at the 8th of 8 drivers. Again, it's automatically interpreting the drivers you need. It's pretty accurate. You may have a case where it doesn't find all of the drivers, so in that case you'd have to go in and manually do 1 or 2, but this is pretty accurate as far as finding the majority of the drivers that you're going to need. Okay, it is finishing up that 8th one now. We're at 92% complete. Getting close here, 96%. Fairly quick process if you've got good internet connection. And now they are downloaded, and the system is going to go ahead and begin the installation of those drivers that it found. Okay, the drivers are done installing, and you get a summary sheet. It gives you an update of exactly what happened. In our case, it talks about the updates that were found. The download is complete. It does have one BIOS driver that has a button that says install now. Most of this is pretty obvious. You can follow through. We have one down here that you can click on and install manually, and we'll go ahead and do that. So we're going to click on install now on one that it didn't do. And you can do that for the purpose of this video. We're going to continue on, but when you do that, it'll just manually do that particular driver. So at this point, the system will reboot for you, and you'll be able to verify that whether or not all your drivers are there. And we're going to let it reboot, go into the device manager and just see how many devices still require software. Okay, now the system is rebooted, and to check to make sure all the drivers have loaded properly, you can go into the control panel, lower left hand corner, control panel, and then we want to get to the device manager. So if you click on hardware and sound, device manager, and it'll list all the hardware, and if there's no yellow asterisk next to anything, which there is not, all the drivers loaded properly. So that's an indication you got all the drivers, you got Windows 7 on there, and the task is complete. Now, I did not mention anything about licensing. You notice that throughout this process we never entered the Windows 7 COA sticker number. The reason being, in this example we used a Dell Restore Disk on a Dell Latitude laptop, and the Dell Restore Disk knows that you're doing it on a Dell, and it won't ask you for that license. Now, it's your responsibility to make sure you've loaded it on one that had a Windows 7 license. I'm not here to give you any legal advice on the legalities with Microsoft as far as licensing goes, but only want to make sure you understand that if you do use a Dell disk on a Dell laptop, you won't be asked or you won't be prompted to put that big long COA number in. Okay, that's it. You've successfully loaded your system with Windows 7, got the drivers going. Hope this helped. If you have any questions, you can list them below. I will also put some information below on the links that we used. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Also, subscribe to us, and every time we come up with a new YouTube video, you'll get an email. And thank you again for your attention. Again, let us know if you have any questions. Thanks again.